Welcome to Chewin Da Yat, WAMF, 90.3 FM, New Orleans. We're on every Wednesday at 5 p.m., talking to some of New Orleans' most interesting people. And today we have Marcia Wall. Welcome to Chewin Da Yat, Marcia.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Now, Marcia and I have been friends for over 20 years, as it turns out. You know, time flies when you're having fun. And we knew each other from the comedy scene. And we've done some comedy shows together, and she has a thriving career coaching service that we're going to talk about today at length, I hope. But let's just talk about when we first met and stuff just a little bit. Do you remember? I don't remember exactly where we first met. I mean, I know it was the comedy scene, but was it Martine's or?
You know, to be honest, Chris, it's been so long.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like we've just both been in the ethereal part of New Orleans for 20 years and become friends, colleagues, and now you're interviewing me. This is exciting.
Well, thank you. You're a really good friend because you're one of the few people in the creative industry who actually come out and support other people. So I want to thank you for that, for coming to my shows and things. And I know that we did a couple of shows together that I remember. We did one on Rampart, I think it was.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And we did one at the Fairgrounds Coffee House.
Oh, probably multiple times.
Yeah. And also, I think you did a stand-up gig with me at the top of the Old Bud's Broiler.
I believe we did with Mike Strecker, actually.
Yeah. So that's you get around if you're in the comedy business in New Orleans. I guess if you go to all kind of venues and stuff. Have you been doing any comedy lately, or?
You know, actually, earlier this year, I did an online comedy show with Peer Health Exchange. It's an organization out of San Diego, and I did a comedy bit on career counseling and career coaching, actually.
Oh, okay, how'd that work out?
It was good. It was well received. It was my first time doing jokes about that topic, but I will tell you, as serious as people are about career coaching, there's a lot to be made fun of as well, and it's good to laugh at yourself every once in a while.
Do you read Dilbert?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, because that's a lot of workplace stuff there, but well, anyway, let's talk about what's first of all, what's the name of your business?
Well, my name is Marcia Wall, and it's simply MW Career Services. I didn't feel the need to do anything, much
fancy.
more dramatic. No, because there's all sorts of kind of woo-woo topics out there, like find your path or make your dreams come alive. And I'm like, sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Let's just go with MW Career Services.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been doing this?
Well, in one form or another, really since 2002.
Okay.
I worked for a now closed school in Metairie called Remington College. They have campuses all over the country. And before Katrina, they had a campus. And my job was actually to go around every single high school in 11 parish region and talk about life after high school and how not to mess up your life. And that sort of launched my career in career services. And in one form or another, I've been doing that ever since 2002. So I guess 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good long time to do anything. So in some of your well, in your description, you say that you coach individuals with a growth mindset to live their best professional lives, and your expertise lies in areas of career services, personal coaching, training, and writing. And some of your credentials are you're certified global career development facilitator, and this is quite a long credential here. I have to say, you're a credential, which is good. It's very, very impressive, actually. You're a certified global career development facilitator and a certified career services provider through the National Career Development Association. You're also certified through Recovery Innovation International to coach people who cope with mental illness and/or substance abuse issues. And additionally, you have a Master's of Arts degree in rhetoric and the teaching of writing, and have done coursework in online training essentials through the University of California, San Diego.
That's a fact.
So that's quite a mouthful there. And some of your services are you find jobs, get promotions, advance their careers, achieve their goals, resolve workplace conflict and professional dissatisfaction. You increase the confidence, cope with stress of job searching, with resumes, cover letters, with interviewing, networking, brand management. And you also coach freelancers and gig workers, solopreneurs, and small business owners to clarify their visions, missions, and goals, and to identify their ideal clients and learn how to market themselves, find a work-life balance that is right for them. Now,
that's a lot.
it is, and some of your clients are AT&T, Tulane University, Unitech Training Academy, University of California, and AmeriCorps, Jewish Family Services, Leap of Confidence, San Diego Pride, Crossroads of Louisiana, and many more, actually. So you seem you've been, in those 20 years, you've done a lot, and you've been very successful, I think. And
I like to think so.
you want to? How did the again? It's MW Career Services. Do you have a website and stuff? I assume, or something that people can get.
You know, actually, I don't, and that surprises many people. People can find me on LinkedIn if they Google me. If they simply Google me and put Marcia Wall Career Coach, I'm going to be the first one that pops up.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's Marcia Wall. That's WALL, just like the wall. So that's pretty simple. And on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Marcia Wall Career Coach. We want to make sure that we get that out there so people will know how to get in touch with you. Now, how does the process usually work? I mean, you have lots of different services here. It looks like. So I guess it depends on each client what they ask for. So how would it start out for someone? Say someone came to you and wanted to find a new job. They needed a new job.
So typically what happens is that people will find me through a referral, maybe on the NCDA website. They can find me a lot of different ways. And really, they just contact me usually via email and say, hey, this is my situation. They might be looking for a job. They might want a resume update. A lot of people just don't know what they want to do next if they're pivoting careers. Some people simply want help with confidence in the workplace. There's a lot of different services that people come for, and I meet with everyone for free for about 20 minutes. We talk on the phone. I listen to their story. I hear what their strengths are. I also hear what their fears are, and together we discuss to see if we're going to be a good fit. Because here's the deal, Chris. I'm really good at what I do, but I'm also not the only one on the planet who does this. And I make sure that I'm only working with clients who I'm a really, really good fit for, because everyone deserves to work with a coach who's the right fit for them. And so, after our conversation, if we feel like it's a good fit, then I will outline a course of services for them that are custom. And from there, we'll usually meet once a week, once every other week. Sometimes people meet once a month. So everything is really custom and really individualized. Okay. But it starts just with a conversation.
Okay. Well, what are some of your latest successes with getting people? Say your latest client, perhaps.
Well, in the spirit of confidentiality.
Well, you don't have to say any names, but we'll go back further then. Just give us an example, maybe something that's happened in the past without going into names or anything. Just the kind of job that you may have gotten for somebody, or a situation that you got, you straightened out for them or helped them. Yeah.
So I would say, first of all, that I don't get jobs for anybody. What I help people to do is to understand themselves better and their strengths and their values, and to understand how the career development process works. And by being guides on their journey, they're really empowered to drive their careers in the way that they want to. Now, having said that, I've had clients land executive director jobs, had one who just landed a job as a prep cook, a kid right out of high school. And, he's really excited about that job. I've worked with people in the nonprofit sector, nurses, doctors, lawyers, people who work in the trades. I had one woman, and I'm sure she's happy to share this. She was a private investigator and decided that she wanted to become a baker. And she has Lemon Drop Pastry Shop in San Diego, and she's doing a booming business. So I think what all of my clients have in common, the successful ones, and I would say that, the successful ones are the ones who are willing to put in the work and take risks and do something different. And if somebody has that growth mindset, then I think they will absolutely 100% going to find a measure of success in our work together.
Okay, so you just help them find their way. Basically, they get their own jobs. They go out and use the skills that you've tried to explain to them or whatever, or show them what they can do, give them the possibilities perhaps that they may have not seen themselves perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's true. There's many different services I offer, and some people just come for a resume or just come for a LinkedIn. But really, no matter who comes to me, Chris, when we work together, first and foremost is to help them to understand their own professional narrative. Who are they? What is their vision? What kind of impact in the world? And what sort of values do they want to operate in? Because when you understand your story, then you understand these are the kinds of jobs that I'm looking for. These are the kind of places that I want to work at. And you learn to communicate that story consistently across multiple channels, whether that's in interviews, resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn, and your networking. And that is really the key to sort of moving the process forward.
Do you find that a lot of people really don't know really where to start with their resumes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People are writing resumes the way that people did, 30 years ago even. They'll put their personal address on the resume, and I ask them why, and they say, well, because that's always how it's been done. And I said, well, you're right. That's the way that it used to be. And people put their addresses on there because we mailed things to people, and we no longer do that. So you don't need to put your address on there. It's actually a threat to, possible identity theft. Yeah.
Well, that's a cheery thought. but that's good. That's some information that is people need to know.
Yeah, people need to know. And I think in general, they are going by outdated standards. And when they come to me, they feel bad about that. I said, there's absolutely no reason to feel bad that you don't know how to do your resume. If you've never been taught, then how can you be expected to know? Yeah. And I also tell them, and this is, I think, what a good resume writer or career coach will do, is they stay up to date. The way that I wrote a resume 3 years ago is not the same way that I write it today. And certainly the way that I wrote it 6 years is in many ways vastly different from the way that I write it today. And so I think that's hard for people to keep up to date with those trends because they're not in the industry. And that is where working with a professional resume writer can really give them the extra edge because we're up to date.
Well, I think that's extremely valuable to have somebody who, professional resume writer, help you with your resume because, as you say, all the things have changed, but also people just don't really know what they need to include, and they don't really look at themselves in an objective way that someone who looks at it from outside. You can identify skills or valuable skills that an employer might want that they don't realize that they have, perhaps.
Yeah, I would say that's true, Chris. And when people come in to work with me, they always underestimate what they have to offer in the marketplace. Both their transferable skills as well as their hard skills and really what people are looking for. They always undervalue themselves, and that's one of the first things that I do is help them to identify their strengths and what is really awesome about that. One of my colleagues, Kyle Elliott, he says the world needs your fabulousness. Yeah. And that's perhaps the best piece of career advice that I've ever heard. And that's what I help them to do, is to understand their fabulousness and how to share that with the world, because the world needs each of us to make a contribution.
Well, I guess if we could all make our best contribution, we'd be a lot better off. But so that's good that there are people out here to help people to realize those things. Because you don't realize, I think your actual worth. And at least in this culture, I don't live in any other culture, but I think a lot of Americans, most of them, they do underestimate a lot of what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, and I think they also underestimate what role work should play in our lives, right? Historically, in puritanical American culture, we're taught to work hard, and that somehow that is magically going to lead to success and magically going to lead to happiness. Now, there's nothing wrong with working hard, but I believe in working smart. Work hard when we need to, but the rest of the time we should be working smart. And what I encourage my clients to do is not so much to think about an ideal career, but to think about an ideal life. And then how do you make that career fit into your life? Because none of us is guaranteed tomorrow, and I want people to be happy. That's fundamentally my job, is to help people create happiness for themselves.
Well, you've always been a real upbeat person as well in general, I think, and a lot of enthusiasm, and I'm sure that kind of, to your clients, I'm sure that they appreciate that, and that helps them to go do these things, to the attitude that you bring to the table as well.
Yeah, my tagline is, the best is yet to come.
I say, okay, yeah. I think I heard that someplace before in public life the other day, but I won't get into that. But let's all hope that the best is yet to come. That's for sure. Now, if say that some of your clients, like the Tulane, like the universities and stuff, what can you do for organizations?
Oh, no, that is a great question. And it really depends on the needs of the organization. For like AmeriCorps, for example, I led workshops on interviewing and resume writing and all sorts of other career topics to help young people sort of launch their careers. For Tulane University, I actually developed, and this wasn't directly career related, but I developed a custom English language program for people who were coming from Colombia. They were like the FEMA of, South America. And I developed a custom program for them for Crossroads of Louisiana. That was actually a program serving developmentally disabled adults. And for them, I helped to develop an educational curriculum that paired with the work that they were already doing. So, it really depends. If a company if they're laying off a lot of people, I could do some outplacement work. If really, Chris, I think that's a big question, but I think, I think that's a big question, but I think the possibilities are limitless.
Okay, and now we hear a lot on the news about the job market in the last, say, since the pandemic or whatever, being people looking for employees. I mean, how do you find the job market right now?
Wow, that's a big question too. Here's the thing. I think that there's always going to be opportunity, and you hear a lot about this as an employee's market. And in some ways that's true, but then you also hear right now about a lot of layoffs going in the tech industry, for example. What I do think is true is that if people remain nimble, if they continue to upskill, if they remain flexible, if they really know who they are, and here's the biggest thing, if they network, I think they're always going to be primed for employment. Even in some of the darkest times, I know for me, Hurricane Katrina, right? We both survived Hurricane Katrina. When I came back to the city, there were no jobs, 9-to-5 jobs to speak of. And so that's when I started freelancing in about 15 different areas. And I wasn't necessarily the wealthiest person on the planet as a result, but I never missed a mortgage payment, and I had a lot of fun. And, a big part of that was due to the fact that I could identify my different skill sets. I wasn't afraid to try something new, and I was always networking.
Well, do you find, you talk about flexibility and things like that, do you find people resistant to change or not, generally?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're resistant to change, or they get tunnel vision, and if they're thinking about changing, they have their mind on one particular goal. I was reading a book yesterday about happenstance, and that's just a fancy term for sort of creating your own luck. That if you're the kind of person that's always talking to new people, being open to new experiences, willing to try something new, not afraid of failure, and having fun in the process. There's a word out there called cottywomple. Chris, have you ever heard of this word?
I think I've heard it, but I'm not sure what it means, though.
Well, it basically means to go earnestly in the pursuit of something that you don't know yet exists. And I think, if people can cottywomple, okay, I think they're going to do very well with their careers. It's the idea that you are exploring for the sake of exploration and open to what may come.
Okay, so what's that word again?
Cottywomple. CODDIWOMPLE. Cottywomple.
All right, cottywomple. Okay, well, I don't know, that might confuse people more than but now the employment situation, the world just changes quite rapidly now, and so you have to keep up with terminology, and they changed how what you're supposed to call this or that all the time. And how do you keep up with that yourself? I mean,
well, I think one of the big things is to be well networked in your own industry. And if you were well networked in your own industry, you're going to keep up on that lingo. And that's important because if you go into an interview and you're using outdated terms, then they're going to see you as being outdated. And even if you're otherwise qualified, you're not going to be really considered for the position. I think the other thing that people can do is to be on LinkedIn. Not everyone likes that, but there's a lot of value to being able to be found online. In this day and age, if someone Googles you and they can't find you, there's sort of suspicion about that. It's really important to have an active digital footprint in a positive way, and you can do that by creating content, doing podcasts like these, going on the radio, creating newsletters, being interviewed by people. So thank you very much for the opportunity. But I think it's important. If you're visible, then you're also going to kind of know what is up to date.
Well, I think that that's very important, because I remember watching a long time ago a TV show, and a guy he had written a book on people who had a lot of luck. So he identified things that made you lucky, and they were kind of elemental. Okay, one of those was that the more people that you knew, the luckier you were, because obviously that's kind of another word for networking. Knowing people. So the internet, LinkedIn or other online things are a great tool to have your existence out there in the greater world, and of course it internationally even.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just talked about doing a workshop for some people from Colombia. I think you did. So I mean, how many of your clients have you gotten a lot of clients from out of the country, or no?
Yeah, not a ton, but I have. I've worked with people in Italy, in Britain. I had a client in Mauritius, which is
that's an interesting place.
Yeah, it is. I've never been, but it's off the coast of Reunion Island, which is off the coast of Madagascar, which hopefully people know Madagascar.
That's where the dodo was, Mauritius.
Yeah.
The extinct bird, for those of you who don't know.
And then I've had clients in Mexico and in Canada. But I work with people definitely all over the United States. I'm currently based, here in New Orleans, with you. But I work with people from Hawaii, on the East Coast, through the South, up through the Midwest. And I'll tell you, that's one of the most challenging parts of my job, Chris, is when you're confirming an appointment, making sure you're putting it in the right time zone.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's good. But that's you're all over the place. That's good. But that's... the networking thing, I think, is extremely important, because, you got to know where the opportunities are.
I would say, Chris, and I don't have the exact figures right now, but people roughly say that 85% of jobs are found through some form of networking. And if you're strictly applying through jobs that you find on Indeed or LinkedIn or Monster, these other big job boards, the ROI, the return on investment on that is very, very, very low. There's 1,000 reasons why, but if people are really interested in advancing their careers, they're going to network. And people hate that term, right? They think of networking as going to some meeting and handing out a business card, which most people don't have anymore anyway, or asking people straight up for a job. And really, networking is just making professional friends and being genuinely interested in other people, and from there developing authentic relationships that will hopefully boost your career. Networking isn't just about finding your next job, it's really about building and fueling your career over a lifetime.
Okay. Now we just talked about online presence being important, but what I wanted to know is, do you find a lot of people are intimidated by the technology and online, especially older people?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the sort of the 50 plus crowd. I specialize in working with people 50 plus. I've actually had clients in their 70s, and I even had one who was 102 who was looking for new volunteer opportunities.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, talk about the best is yet to come, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, technology can be intimidating to people, and what I help people to do is to demystify the technology and break it down step by step. If I simply told someone, hey, go get a LinkedIn profile and start working on it, yeah, they wouldn't know what to do. But if I sit down with them and I say, this is what LinkedIn is about, let's work one-on-one to build your profile, and then I'm going to coach you on how to use LinkedIn, and you're going to set small, achievable goals that you can work on maybe just 15 minutes a day, twice a week, right? You don't need to go in like gangbusters and suddenly become an expert in all the different technology out there, but just know that you're capable of learning, and that with some guidance and, kind of step by step, you can make it happen.
All right. Well, I want to make sure to tell people how to get in touch with you again. It's MW Career Services.
Yeah, they simply need to Google me, Chris, and put in Marcia Wall, Marcia, and then of course the last name is Wall, Wall.
Okay, it's Marcia Wall.
Yeah, and career coaching. I will pop up, and they'll be able to contact me, and from there, again, I talk with people for about 20 minutes. If it's a good fit, we move forward, and if it's not, then I'm always happy to give them referrals.
Okay. And I see here that you talk about you coach freelancers and gig workers. Can you give me an example of a gig worker that you help to, go out there and,
Yeah, I think it starts when people are at that stage of their life. One of two things is happening. They're sort of like in between jobs, and so they're doing that gig work, or very often it's those people who are 50 plus who may be retired and just want to be able to do something to sort of supplement their income. But I think when we're looking at gig opportunities, we first assess what are your strengths and your skills. Like, do you really want to be driving people at night, in an Uber? Is that really something you're comfortable with? Okay, if not, then let's look at other opportunities. And there's so many freelance sites available, like TaskRabbit and Fiverr and Upwork. And again, I help people to network some of that as well. If you start with people in your own backyard, so to speak, you'd be surprised at the opportunities that are available. And as we're looking at gig work opportunities, we're also thinking about their longer term goals. What do they want their life to look like? What are they willing to do? What are they not willing to do? Life's too short. If you can, if you can do something you love, that's great. But Chris, I would also say that I'm extraordinarily realistic and pragmatic. Everyone talks about having their dream job. I know in many ways you have your dream job as a comic and a performer, and in many ways I have my dream job as a career coach. I think, but for both of us, it's safe to say that doesn't mean that we always love our job 100% of the time, 100% of the day. And so I like to demystify for people the career coaching process and really what it is that they're going for. It's okay to have a job that you like and that's good enough most of the time, and you may have other passions that you want to pursue in a non-monetary kind of way, in a hobby kind of way. It's not that we move along in our careers, find a destination and stick there. It's that as we're going through life, we're really navigating our lives as we're navigating our careers, and different parts of our lives and careers will intersect at different times. And it's okay for it to be ever changing and for you to be ever changing. It's really about evolution.
Yes, well, it's first of all, you're listening to Chewin Da Yat. It's Chris Champagne, WAMF 90.3 FM. We're on every Wednesday at 5 p.m. And we're speaking to Marcia Wall, who's a career coach, and she's been telling us some of the things that she does and for her clients, and who are looking to maybe change their careers or move on from a job that they have now, or just even find something, like she said before, a hobby, something to enrich your life. And we talked about something called Imposter Syndrome before we went on the air. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so Imposter Syndrome, first and foremost, isn't really a syndrome. It's not something that you can be diagnosed with, but it's a catchphrase that speaks to the fact that many people feel like frauds or fakes, or that they're not good enough, or they're not educated enough, that somehow they don't fit in. And people will come to me with this concern all of the time. Well, I don't know if I should apply for that job because I don't fit 100% of the requirements. Or, yeah, I've never seen anyone like me who's been in that kind of job before. Or, I only have a GED, right? There's all sorts of reasons that people discount their own value. And when they come to me, they're surprised to learn that virtually every person I've ever worked with feels exactly the same way, whether they have a PhD, whether they've been in the workforce for years. People, famous people, Einstein, Oprah, they've all copped to having this imposter syndrome, this feeling that somehow that they're not good enough. And one of the things I do with my clients, Chris, is that I really normalize these kinds of feelings. I deal with imposter syndrome. There's days where I feel like I'm, the greatest expert in the world. Maybe not really, right? But I feel really confident. And there's other times when I'm like, okay, this is really going to be a challenge. How am I going to do this? And the fact that I'm able to evaluate myself and be a little bit humble, but yet have that resiliency to move forward anyway is a marker of success. So when people think that they're not good enough, trust me, everyone else on the planet feels that way too. And if they don't, then, that's where we get into sort of a psychopath. And
yeah, and they run for public office. Because, obviously there are some people who think that they're much better than they are. Because I see them on TV.
Well, I think there's a lot of self-aggrandizing out there. But for the most part, people really feel like, for whatever reason, that they're not good enough. And the truth of the matter is that all of us are good enough, and that's all we need to be.
Yeah, I think that you're right about that. I think that's how most people are, that they underestimate themselves, or they think that they need to be a lot better than they have to be necessarily, sometimes for things. That's a tough one though. It's tough to see that by yourself. So this is one of the values of having someone like you, I think, to point that out to them.
Well, and I also normalize failure. Sometimes clients think that career coaches have it all together, that our careers have been linear. And for me, nothing could be farther from the truth. My career has been interrupted by illness, by Hurricane Katrina, and other factors beyond my control. And what has made my career successful is my ability to be resilient, to get up when I'm knocked down, to being open to other opportunities, and to believing that the best is yet to come, and coddy-wampling forward. Yeah. Even when I don't want to. And by normalizing failure, I help my clients to realize that they're not broken in any kind of way. They're simply maybe lost on their path, and with me, they have a guide that can help them get to their next destination.
Well, I think that we all fail, more than once in life, in small and big ways. That's just part of the experience of living.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's tough to get off the ground sometimes by yourself. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I have not succeeded on my own. Fun fact.
Okay.
When I was in my early to mid 40s, even though I had done career coaching before, I had never really called it that. And so when I was in my early to mid 40s, I thought, I don't want to continue doing what I've done. I want to do something different. I don't know what it is. I had been sick for a really long time, and I thought, I've been unemployed for 3 years. I had moved. I didn't have current references, and the world felt like a dead end to me. But I had enough hope to go hire a career coach. And when I met the career coach, I realized that what she was doing was what I wanted to do. And from there, I started volunteering and doing some other things to get my career going. I got a great job that relaunched my career. And now I'm doing what I love and loving what I'm doing.
Well, that's great. I'm proud of you, actually, because you have your successes. So just for what it's worth. So
well, thank you. I think the fact that I wake up every day
yeah.
and able to move forward, sometimes that feels like a victory in and of itself, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So again, tell people how they can get in touch with you, and
Yeah, so I'm definitely a resource for people if they Google Marcia Wall, Wall, and career coach on Google or any other. Is there really another search platform? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Go Duck and stuff like that.
Well, go Duck, go Google, go anywhere.
Yeah, Google's probably the best one, though, I think. I mean, when I do my research, I just find that Google is superior to anyone that I found.
I think so too. But wherever you search online, type in my name and career coach, and I think you're going to find me. And if you reach out, I'd be happy to speak with you. You know, career coaches don't work for free, and because we have to pay bills like everyone else. However, that doesn't mean that no one has the opportunity to work with a coach. There's something called the American Job Centers, or America's Job Centers, I should say. These are federally funded career centers in almost every community nationwide. You can go there and take classes on resume writing, LinkedIn, job searching. You can do mock interviewing. They often have employment programs for people. So if you go to America's Job Center on Google and you type in your zip code, you'll be surprised. There's going to be a center that's not far from you.
Okay, well, that's great information there for sure for our listeners. I appreciate that. And again, we've been talking to Marcia Wall, a friend of mine from the comedy scene from years ago, and she's a career coach, a very successful career coach. And she shared some of her thoughts with us, and we really appreciate her coming by on Chewin Da Yat. And if you're in need of her services, I would recommend you looking her up, and on Marcia Wall on Google, career coach. So any parting words, my dear?
I would say that the best is yet to come, and even when things seem impossible, I think they're possible. If you have the belief and the will, then you'll find a way.
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to say too that I forgot. It's relatively elemental, what you just said. I mean, you can get down, and you just don't know what the next day is going to bring. You don't know what the next moment's going to bring. I mean, you could go around a corner and something could happen that would change your life. I mean, in a positive way. So you just need to keep going and try to make that effort the best you can. So, and someone like Marcia, who's a career coach, I think can help you do that. So anyway, so thank you so much, Marcia, for coming and visiting with us on Chewin Da Yat here on WAMF 90.3 FM. And look forward to the next chapters.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Chris. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
Well, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.